Hello, my name is Jesse Raycroft, Supervisor of Horticulture here at the Toronto Zoo. Our mission is to connect people, animal, plants, and conservation science to fight extinction. Today we are excited to share with you our greenhouse. You will be getting a tour from Amanda, one of our gardeners who takes care of our pavilions in our greenhouse. So Amanda, let's get started.
Hi everyone, so I'm going to give you a tour throughout our greenhouse. We have 3 sections, and right now we're standing in our display greenhouse. So when the zoo is open, this section of the greenhouse is open to the public. So I'm just going to walk down this way. As we go down, you can see to my left here that this is the browse section. So browse is what we use to feed animals. We also use it as furniture, so like perching to help the animals. Along our right side here, we have some hibiscus. So this we feed like flowers to reptiles and the tree kangaroos. If you keep going down here. So over here, you'll see that thrown in the mix of our browse are our corpse flowers. We had one flower just a couple years ago here in our greenhouse. And over here, this is called an acromomum. So this is in the ginger family, and this is browse that we feed for our gorillas. If you continue going down, now in this section, we're starting to get to plants that we use in our planters during the summer season. So here you will see these in our beds during the year. Our larger ferns we store in this section. We have some ficus in the back, which is also used as browse. And in this corner right here are our summer planters that were designed by one of our gardeners here at the zoo. And if you actually look at the top, these are papayas, and there's actually fruit forming right now. So now I'll take you along the other side of the greenhouse. So here we have our Ponytail Palms. Again, these are used for display purposes outside. Here we have some cacti ones. Behind this tree fern here, we have costus. So this we use as browse and we feed to our primates. We keep going down on our left side, we see hibiscus. And if you notice, as we're walking through the greenhouse, there will be these white tags on the plants. So that's part of our integrated pest management control plan. Because we're a zoo and we're feeding off these plants to animals and insects, we cannot use pesticides. So in order to help control pests, we use biological control. So those are insects that naturally eat the pests that we don't want here located in our greenhouse, such as mealybug and spider mite and so on. Up here, you'll see just past here, we have a Hoya collection. So we just started this recently. And then here we're back again at the flowering hibiscus. Now we're going to start getting into our aquatic habitat feature area. It's thrown in the mix right here. So here, as you see the sign, we put some of these plants in the flamingo exhibit during the summer months of the year. And as we continue on, we just recently had an Orchid Oasis festival, so everything's not shifted back to normal yet, but this would be a worm bloom section showing off pollinators. So if you see right here, this is a lantana in flower, and we use these and we actually put them in Malayan woods during the summer season to feed the butterflies. As we continue going down, as I said, we have the orchid table still set up here. Over here is supposed to be a medicinal marble table, but because we had the Orchid Oasis, we changed it up a little bit. I'm going to keep going. So in this greenhouse, we try to have one table that represents each of our pavilions. So right here you have America's pavilion. Over here you have Africa pavilion. This is a neat plant right here. It's a euphorbia. And if you can see, there's a tiny, tiny flower right there. If we continue going, we have another Africa table. Oh, sorry, that was actually America's. Sorry. This is the African table. So this is our table that's plants, people, the planet. So we try putting cool plants for you guys, so like stuff for our house plants. Right here is our tentative such plant. So if you go like that on the leaves, it curls up. And right here we have a variegated kumquat tree, and it's actually in bloom and fruiting right now. And then on the other side, we get into our succulents and cacti and euphorbias. So just right here. And we also have some bamboo, some Norfolk pine. This is native to Australasia. So how we organize our greenhouse, we try to organize it by where the plants come from. So once you get past our succulent and cacti section, you're going to see our Australasian plants. We don't have too many because they're hard to get, but we do have one cool plant I'd like to talk about. It's a hibiscus. So this is one of the rarest hibiscus in the world because it's only found in one part of Australia, and it's actually critically endangered right now. So these two I have here, we actually took as cuttings from the large specimen that you can view in Australasia Pavilion. So if we keep going, here's another cool plant. It's called kangaroo paw, and because they look like little kangaroos.
Amanda, we actually have a question.
Yes.
What's the humidity level in the greenhouse?
So we actually have, not calculators, but like a device that shows the humidity level. Right now I've turned down the heat for the tour, but earlier today it was around 33%. I think it was 78% humidity. Okay, thank you. So over here is part of our display. Here we have, I made a tank. Inside you'll see ferns and a really tiny orchid. Up above we have our anthuriums.
All the way.
And if we keep going, I mentioned to you, I showed you earlier, our Amorphophallus. So those are one of the larger species. We actually have another one, a collection we've just started. It's one of the largest collections in Canada. Yep, and that's right over here. As you can see, some of the pots may have none in them. That's because they are dormant right now. Anything that looks like that is starting to come and leaf out. And so some of them are actually up right now. You can take a look. And then from there, we'll go into our Indo-Malaya section of this half the greenhouse. As you can see, we have signs up top. So a plant right here I have for you, it's commonly known as ylang ylang. So this is a dwarf species. What's really cool about not specifically this plant, it is actually the plant that the scent that Chanel No. 5 produces from. And you can see here, it's flowering right now. And if you keep walking along the section, here are a bunch of our bananas. We use these in our annual beds, and we actually also browse them so animals can have a nice treat for banana leaf. If you keep going, we have two box beds right here. They're both ficus, so these we do browse for insects and rhinos and such.
We have a question, Amanda.
Yeah, question?
How big is the greenhouse?
Actually, I don't know how big is the greenhouse. I know there's 3 different sections, but we can get back to you on that later after this live video. So if we keep going down here, you'll see at the back, we have colorful plants, cordylines, crotons. These we also use in our annual beds, and these are all the plants that we use to plant in our pavilions as well. On the other side of the greenhouse, just past these extra set bananas, we're gonna get into American plants. So these you can find in the America's Pavilion at the Toronto Zoo. Up above right now we have Acostus flowering. They have purple flowers. These we are good to feed the primates as well. If you keep going down, these are all the plants you will see in our pavilions, and that also includes our exhibits like tanks and such. These are our larger ones. Up here are our orchid cactuses. So we keep them here in the greenhouse, and then we'll move them out to greenhouse 3 as they flower. To your right here is our Orchid Collection. One of my favorites is our pink princess, which is a really rare, cool plant. And now I'll take you into the second half of the greenhouse. So we're gonna continue with the American plants. Coming up right now, you'll start seeing our bromeliad collection, which is really huge. So this right here is, I think it's a type of cacti. I'm not too sure, but right here are like the little berries, and if you open one and break it inside are the seeds. So back to bromeliads, we have a couple in flower here, as you see. So bromeliads are epiphytic, so they do not live in the ground. They grow in trees and plants and such. And the purpose of these is, if you can see in some of them, there's water in the middle of the bromeliad. Those are actually aquatic habitats that insects use to lay larvae and such. If we continue going, here's a popular plant that's everyone's loves right now. It's a calthea. It's like white fusion. So here are some we have in our greenhouse we put in our tanks. And we also have a different species right to the left of it. And it's currently flowering and it's in bloom. The yellow flowers down below at the bottom.
We have a question.
Yes.
What is your background education?
I've been here at the zoo since 2012, so about 8 years. And recently I just completed an apprenticeship program for horticulture technician. And the Toronto Zoo actually sponsored me through that because you need an employer to go through that. Thank you. And over here we have guava. So these we actually use as furniture for certain bugs and exhibits and tanks. We have some other cool plants over here. One that you're coming up right now with the purple flowers. This is a Stachytarfetta. We use this in Malayan woods as a butterfly plant for them to collect the nectar. And as we go towards the end, now to this side of me, Indo-Malaya starts. So these are the smaller plants that come. Over here you'll see the aluminum plant, which was really popular, if you guys recognize it. So I'm just gonna turn around here, sorry guys. So over here you will actually see, right here we propagated, these are little baby bananas from seed here at the greenhouse. I think there's a question.
What is your favorite plant?
So my favorite plant are actually the ones I just showed you in greenhouse 2, the orchid cactuses and the pink princess philodendron. So right here, these are really cool plants. These are ant plants. So what's really neat about them is that large system right here is actually an enlarged root. Ants live inside this root, and in exchange for that, they produce nutrients for the plant. So that's pretty neat. Over here we have like a pothos table. If you can see, this one doesn't look so healthy. That's because it came from a skink exhibit. So that's browse as food. Once it looks like that, we take it from the pavilion, bring it back here to the greenhouse to grow into nice looking ones so we can replace them back for our reptiles.
We have a question.
Yes.
What is the oldest plant we have at the Toronto Zoo?
I'm not 100% sure which is the oldest plant, but if I can get to it, if I have enough time, there is an orchid in our collection that's in bloom right now, and it's one of our original plants we had from the 70s when we opened up. So hopefully we have time, I can get to that later.
There's also the ficus in Malayan Woods.
Oh, and the ficus in Malayan Woods Pavilion. So if we keep going down, here are some aglaonemas, which is also a common house plant for everyone. We use these in our Indo Pavilion plants and tanks. So if we keep going, right here is a carnivorous plant. So right now they don't have, it's a pitcher plant, they don't have them, but they eat insects. And here are our ginger plants all here. We have some variegated ones, and we also have some Hoyas and more, I think, cacti hanging up above. So now I can take you into greenhouse 1 if you like. So getting back to the question you had about one of our oldest plants. So each plant we accession. So what that means is we actually have an inventory system, so we know where the plants come from and what year they came in. As you can see on this tag here, it starts with 000. So that's, as I was saying, one of our original plants, because this is the 30th plant we had accessioned here at the zoo. And this is the one blooming here. What's also cool is we have a huge orchid collection. So down this side of the greenhouse, you can see there are orchids. And if we go this way, right here is an orchid, and it's actually a leafless one. And beside that, hanging from it, trailing back to a pot, that is a vanilla plant. And what's really special about it is that it's variegated. Behind me right now is our propagation system. So here, this is where we take cuttings to produce more plants. They start from this cutting bench, and then we pot them up. They then pop into this one here. So over here, this is our seeding bench. So we propagate annuals and make more plants. What you're seeing right here is a coffee. So this is a coffee plant where you get your coffee beans produced. Right now it's in flower, and it'll produce coffee beans once that's done. What's really cool is we actually collect the seeds off of these plants and we grow them. So here's an example of propagation. This was collected from our Africa pavilion. Here's another seed of the touch-sensitive plant, the mimosa. And as you can see, this is how it's set up. So to my left of me is continuing our orchid collection. To the right is where we keep little plants that we propagated and we still need to continue nursing. In this part of the greenhouse, we also grow annuals for our beds, such as these spider plants. What's also cool is here we've collected Asclepias, which is known as milkweed seeds that we use to help plant in our annual beds. And as you know, milkweed is really great for monarch butterflies. And behind me, I'm running out of time, are our ferns, and we also have a geranium collection. I think that's all the time we have. If there's any more questions people would like to ask.
We did have a question.
Yes.
How do we swap out plants in the pavilions?
So depending on where the plant is, so if it's just in the ground, we'll just dig it out and bring it back. We also, at that plant, we'll have to go through a quarantine period to make sure it doesn't come back. And then we have tanks, so we can't deal with certain animals, so we'll leave those plants for the keepers, and then they will take them, put them in the tanks. They also take care of those for us, and then when they're looking not so healthy, they'll bring them back for us. Okay, thank you guys for listening, and this is the greenhouse here at the Toronto Zoo.